The story opens with Mona, a young woman originally from Osaka who relocated to Tokyo a year ago. She is the kind of girl who captivates everyone effortlessly with her beauty. Everyone is stunned by her looks, and she proudly declares herself to be the whole package. To her, high school is merely a game where she plays to win. Mona reveals that no one can resist her charms except for one boy. Determined to change that, she greets him with a confident smile. The boy's name is Kuroiwa Medaka, and the protagonist transferred to the school 2 weeks ago. With a scowl, Medaka greets her back, visibly annoyed. Mona feels her patience thinning as she wonders why he appears so irritated. Noticing that he still hasn't gotten his school uniform, she inquires if he has adjusted to the environment. Medaka, touching his forehead, appears tense, and Mona, sensing his nervousness, suggests giving him another tour of the school. With a cheerful smile, she reminds him to talk to her if anything is troubling him. Meanwhile, all the other boys around them burn with jealousy. Medaka nervously tries to say something, prompting Mona to ask what it is. To everyone's shock, he simply tells her to leave him alone. Mona is utterly stunned, unable to believe that he turned her down so directly. Her pride is wounded, and she wonders what could possibly be wrong with him. Why isn't he interested? Isn't she, the most beautiful girl in the room, sitting right next to him? Frustrated and confused, she glances at his phone and notices him liking pictures of cats. A sudden idea sparks in her mind. Mona, in her usual playful manner, asks if he likes cats, then mimics one by mewing cutely and winking at him. Her charm works wonders on the other boys, who swoon over her antics. She gazes eagerly at Medaka, hoping for a reaction. To her delight, he finally looks surprised, and she wonders if his heart has started racing. However, he quickly adjusts his expression and coldly tells her to meow off. Medaka lets out a sigh, and Mona becomes visibly shaken. She cannot believe what she just heard, and neither can the surrounding boys. Stunned, Mona asks why he's acting so cold, especially after she caught a glimpse of his surprised expression just moments ago. Medaka, hiding his mouth, addresses her again. Mona, regaining some composure, excitedly asks what he wants to say. He responds by asking her to keep her distance from him. Her world shatters. Mona is utterly speechless. Throughout her life, from childhood to the present, she has always been surrounded by love and admiration. Now, rejected in such a blunt manner, she runs away in frustration. Even as she flees, one of the girls comments on how cute she looks. Still fuming, Mona demands to know why Medaka remains unfazed by her. Determined to turn things around, she plans to take drastic measures. Later, she climbs a ladder to put up posters and deliberately positions herself to show off her legs, confident that Medaka won't be able to look away. However, he merely glances at her and keeps walking. Stunned once again, she briefly considers an even bolder move, which is flashing him. Another boy asks if she's alright, to which she replies that she fell. Adjusting her skirt, she asks if he saw anything. Medaka glances at her briefly, then walks away, leaving Mona flustered. The other boys assure her they didn't see anything either. Sweat trickles down her face as she realizes she's running out of options. No matter what she tries, she cannot get a reaction from him. Desperate, she resolves to use her ultimate move. Meanwhile, on the other side of the school, Medaka blushes unexpectedly. He muses about how unfamiliar people in Tokyo are with his way of thinking. A boy beside him notices his flushed face and jokingly asks if he's thinking about something inappropriate. Medaka's expression immediately hardens, and he firmly denies it. The boy with glasses then points out that Medaka gave Mona the cold shoulder again today, even though she has been going out of her way to be nice to him. The boy interjects, urging calm, and offers to explain. To everyone's surprise, the boy with glasses is shocked that Medaka is from a temple. Medaka confirms this and explains that temple rules forbid associating with girls. When asked about his romantic history, Medaka confesses he's never even had a female friend. Growing up in a household of older people, he has no clue how to interact with them. Just thinking about girls, mostly from TV, makes him nervous, and the thought of Mona sends his heart racing. He realizes he might actually fall for her, recalling her efforts to catch his attention. Flustered, he reminds himself of his vow to remain pure for the priesthood, but the idea of having a girlfriend like her sneaks back, leaving him more unsettled. Desperate, he chants aloud to steady himself, confusing nearby classmates. As a monk in training, Medaka chose a coeducational school to confront his worldly desires and stay true to his disciplined path. Meanwhile, Mona, still recovering from her bruised ego, asks the teacher if she can go to the infirmary. The teacher instructs her to take someone with her, and she seizes the opportunity. Stumbling dramatically, she places a hand on Medaka's shoulder and declares to the teacher that Kuroiwa will accompany her. Medaka is stunned, unable to process what's happening as she drags him along. At the infirmary, Mona wastes no time. She corners Medaka, pressing him against the wall. His face turns a deep shade of red as he stammers, asking if she wasn't supposed to be feeling unwell. In a sultry tone, she informs him that no one comes here during this time, fully intending to use the situation to her advantage. Mona smugly thinks about how no one can resist her charms when they're alone. She urges him to be honest, asking him what he truly feels about her. She continues, her voice softer now, confessing that his cold demeanor makes her think he hates her. Medaka hurriedly denies it, his face becoming even redder. Mona grins triumphantly at his flustered state, thinking she's finally won. But just as she feels victory is within reach, Medaka's expression abruptly changes. He starts chanting. Taken aback, Mona refuses to give up. She locks her hands with his, forcing him to stop. She demands they have a proper conversation, but as she shifts her stance, she accidentally steps on a piece of cloth. Both of them lose their balance and tumble onto the bed. For the first time, Mona feels truly embarrassed, realizing she might have gone too far. Flustered, she lies there in silence, but Medaka's stern, angry glare snaps her out of it. She is stunned. It has no effect on him. Frustrated and annoyed, she grows desperate. How could someone so handsome remain unmoved by someone as attractive as her? Refusing to back down, she takes a drastic approach. This finally elicits a strong reaction from Medaka, whose face burns with embarrassment. Mona, too, blushes deeply, realizing this is her final trick. With tears welling up, she begs him to fall for her. Yet Medaka stays resolute, his face still burning, refusing to show weakness. Both of them tremble, the tension unbearable. Tears stream down Mona's face as she throws a tantrum, demanding to know why he's being so cruel. Suddenly, she slips off the bed. Medaka instinctively moves to catch her, pulling her back up. When Mona comes to her senses, she finds herself face to face with him. Concern etched on his face, Medaka asks if she's all right. Her heart skips a beat. Realizing their awkward position, she quickly reassures him she's fine though flustered. Medaka, equally embarrassed, stumbles back, rushing to explain himself. He stumbles over his words before abruptly standing up, declaring that he can't take it anymore. Turning toward the door, he announces that he's leaving. But before stepping out, he pauses. Looking back, he advises her earnestly. "The thing you just did, save it for a guy you really like." Mona is left speechless, her cheeks blazing red. As he leaves, she yells after him, demanding to know why her heart is racing. Medaka stops briefly, surprised by her voice, but continues walking. He mutters to himself, struggling to regain composure. That was intense, and he needs to get his act together, but she's too cute. The next day, the usual commotion surrounds Mona as the boys flock to greet her. Medaka notices her from across the room, and for the first time she flusters under his gaze. Awkwardly, she greets him as she sits down. She remarks that he's finally wearing his uniform. He replies dryly, as always, but notices that she is unusually quiet today. Confused, he looks at her questioningly. Noticing his stare, she wonders why he's giving her the old look and avert move. Medaka sneakily attempts to wipe his mind clean, while Mona battles to keep her cool. Talk about a role reversal. It seems like she's catching feelings now. Annoyed, Mona mutters under her breath and plops her head on the desk. Catching Medaka's confused gaze, she tightens her fists. Determined, she vows to make him truly notice her, even if it's the last thing she does. The next day, Mona greets everyone with her usual charm, effortlessly capturing their attention with her stunning looks. She takes great pride in her beauty and the adoration it brings. Medaka appears, greeting her with a scowl before walking past her. She pouts, frustrated that he is the only one who makes such a face when he sees her. It's not fair, she thinks, watching him leave. Unbeknownst to her, Kuroiwa blushes at her cuteness as he passes by, immediately starting to chant to steady his thoughts. Annoyed that he won't even glance at her, Mona decides to take matters into her own hands. During gym class, she performs an impressive split, leaving all the boys in awe. The coach reminds everyone to stretch properly. Seizing the opportunity, Mona calls out to Medaka, inviting him to join her and see how flexible she is. She encourages him to stretch with her. The boy with glasses jealously informs Medaka that Mona is calling him. Flustered, Medaka retorts that she's barely wearing anything. Mona, overhearing his hesitation, wonders if he's pretending not to hear her or genuinely ignoring her. Before she can press further, the coach calls all the girls over. Mona fumes internally, questioning what more she needs to do to get Medaka's attention. Every glance she throws his way seems to have no effect. Suddenly, she remembers what he said in the infirmary about saving her charms for someone she truly likes. She clenches her fists in frustration, her pride stung. It doesn't matter, she resolves. She will make him fall for her, and then she will back off. As the class ends, Mona breathes heavily, catching Medaka's attention. She deliberately strikes a seductive pose while wiping sweat from her body, exposing glimpses of her skin usually hidden from view. The other boys are mesmerized and stunned by her display. Confidently, Mona thinks that if her chest and curves didn't work, perhaps this would. Medaka glances at her briefly but quickly turns away. She stands there, dumbfounded, as Medaka walks out without a second glance. The other boy is equally shocked by his indifference. Gloom settles over her as she questions why he reacted that way. Outside, Medaka pours cold water over his head, trying to cool off. Frustration bubbles within him as he wonders why she is so reckless. Catching himself too late, he scolds himself, reminding himself of his vow to stay pure. He needs to forget this ever happened, he tells himself firmly. Mona, meanwhile, feels dejected and gloomy. She berates herself internally, admitting that Medaka rejecting her so harshly has shaken her confidence. Despite her frustration, she resolves to look him in the eye and face him again. As Medaka dries his face with a towel, he notices her nearby. Their eyes meet briefly before he quickly hides his face again. Mona is left speechless, anger bubbling up inside her as she wonders why he won't even look at her. Deciding to give up for the day, she sighs in defeat. Medaka, still hiding his face, finally lowers the towel. He spots Mona drinking water, and his face instantly flushes red. Mona notices his gaze, and before he can react, he turns away hurriedly. She stares at him, stunned, wondering if he's secretly into these kinds of things. In her confusion, her hand slips, and the water spills, drenching her clothes. Mona freezes, realizing that her outfit has become see-through. Medaka, noticing this, lets out a panicked scream. Mona also screams, bending down in an attempt to cover herself. Mortified, she berates herself. This wasn't the plan. She can't just give him a free sample. Medaka, meanwhile, blushes furiously, his thoughts spiraling from what he just saw. Mona, equally embarrassed, curses the timing of the incident. Of all people, why did this have to happen in front of him? She hears a rustle and glances up, confused as Medaka takes off his shirt. Before she can react, he drapes it over her shoulders, quickly covering her exposed clothing. His voice is nervous but firm as he tells her she can wear it. Mona, momentarily stunned, stares at his bare torso, her face turning crimson. Medaka, flustered and eager to escape, informs her that he's heading back. Chanting quietly in his mind, he walks away without looking back. Mona calls after him, thanking him softly. He turns his head slightly and brushes it off, telling her it's not a big deal. As she watches him leave, she feels an unfamiliar sensation. He had beaten her at her own game. On the other side of the gym, Medaka reunites with the boys. They ask what happened to his shirt. Coughing awkwardly, Medaka evades the question. The guy with glasses comments that she always looks cute. She introduces herself once again as Mona and reveals that people say she is beautiful without even trying. She adds that nobody can resist her beauty. She asks if this pose is okay, and he informs her that it is a little extra. She questions why Medaka is scowling again and asks him to tell her what he really thinks. With a smile, she reveals that, as his model, she will do anything he wants and listen to his requests. With a seductive tone, she whispers in his ear not to ask her to go nude. She chuckles, saying she is just kidding. He responds coldly, telling her to have some class. She becomes embarrassed, wondering why he didn't get the joke. She is determined that she will change him today. Their assignment is to team up and draw each other, and they end up paired together. She thinks it's an easy win for her. She knows she is cute, and if he is going to look at her all the time, he will absolutely fall for her. She wonders what pose she should do. He remembers the other day when Medaka couldn't keep himself together because of her hotness. She notices his body shaking as he starts chanting again. She decides on a pose and strikes one similar to the one she did at the water fountain. She asks him what he thinks about her pose, and all the guys in the room compliment her. She chuckles and informs Medaka that she will be his muse. She notices him blushing as he looks at her, and she smiles, thinking her plan is working. Medaka, however, quickly calms himself and tells her to do whatever she wants. She is taken aback that her efforts have no effect on him. Annoyed, she comments that she is standing there, looking pretty, while he is just drawing her without any reaction. Medaka continues to stare at her intently, and she starts feeling uncomfortable. She thinks to herself that he is staring a little too much and begins to blush. Trying to regain control of the situation, she asks him which part of her he is drawing. He replies calmly, "Your neck." He then comments that her neck is delicate. Her cheeks turn red, and she starts blushing even more, feeling increasingly uncomfortable as he continues to draw. She gulps nervously, realizing that he is still looking at her neck. Sweat trickles down her body as his unwavering stare makes her feel feverish. It feels as though his gaze is burning straight through her, and she can't take it anymore. She snaps and tells him that it's enough. He looks at her in confusion, but before he can respond, she runs out of the classroom. In the girls' bathroom, she stands in front of the mirror, trying to compose herself. No matter how much she smiles, she thinks to herself, Medaka never reacts. No matter what she does, he always looks away from her, and it's not fair. Tears well up in her eyes as she questions why he was looking at her like that now, but can't look at her like that all the time. Back in the classroom, the guys surround Medaka and ask him what he did to Mona. A girl speaks up, saying she knew something was wrong. Looking at Mona's pictures, the girl contemplates that ever since Medaka transferred, Mona has changed. Haruno of Tsubomi, a classmate, secretly watches Mona-chan from a distance. She saw them at the water fountain the other day and misunderstood the situation entirely. Haruno, for reasons even she doesn't fully understand, is utterly obsessed with Mona. She finds her irresistibly cute to the point that it makes her want to kiss her. As she stares at a photo of Mona on her desk, she leans in to kiss it. But just as her lips are about to touch the picture, a guy bumps into her desk. Medaka happens to be passing by at the same moment. The guy apologizes to Haruno, and she brushes it off, saying it's fine. However, her thoughts drift back to the events of the other day. Mona drenched, squatting at the fountain, and Medaka walking away shirtless. The scene replays in her mind as she tries to make sense of it. Meanwhile, Mona casually announces to the group that she made too many candies the night before and asks if anyone wants some. With her usual charm, she turns to Medaka and offers him one directly, instructing him to open his mouth. Medaka hesitates, but instead of taking the candy with his hand, he abruptly shoves it into her mouth. Mona is left completely stunned, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She quickly runs away without another word. The guys, equally confused, exchange baffled glances. Haruno stands up abruptly, her suspicions growing. She always assumed Mona was just being sweet when she talked to Medaka. But now, doubts creep into her mind. Asterisk, what if Mona doesn't want to talk to him? What if he's forcing her? Asterisk, the thought spirals further. Haruno imagines outrageous scenarios, Medaka blackmailing Mona, intimidating her, or even worse. She shakes her head, unable to believe someone could stoop so low. Her paranoia builds, fueled by misunderstanding after misunderstanding. On the other hand, Medaka silently chants to calm his nerves, trying to suppress the chaos of his thoughts. Haruno, now determined to save Mona from Medaka's clutches, decides to keep a close eye on them. She discreetly follows them, convinced that Medaka is taking advantage of Mona. Yet to her confusion, Mona seems to be acting willingly. As she continues her surveillance, Mona suddenly leads Medaka somewhere. Haruno's heart races. Where is she taking him? Is he about to do something terrible to her? She panics but musters her courage, pulling out her phone to record whatever might happen. She's determined to expose him. Haruno bursts into the room, shouting for Medaka to stop. But to her shock, she finds Mona standing close to him, trying to feed him candy again. Both Mona and Medaka turn to look at her, surprised by her sudden entrance. The situation grows even more chaotic as Haruno, still flustered, accidentally bumps into Mona. The momentum causes Mona to lose balance, and she falls toward Medaka, who instinctively tries to catch them. Instead, all three of them end up tangled together on the floor, with Mona and Haruno on top of Medaka. Haruno scrambles to her feet, realizing what just happened. She quickly apologizes to Medaka, her cheeks red with embarrassment. Then, as if to justify her intrusion, she asks why he ended up underneath them and wonders aloud if he tried to break the fall. Mona, equally flustered, stammers, asking Haruno why she's there, and trying to think of an excuse, blurts out that she was just going to the bathroom before bolting from the room, muttering about how her plan backfired once again. As Haruno flees, she feels Medaka's presence behind her. He comments, "City girls are so scary," before resuming his chanting and walking away. Haruno sits up, replaying the scene in her mind. What just happened? She can't shake the image of Mona interacting with Medaka. It looked like she was hitting on him. For the first time, Medaka surprises her. He doesn't fit the villainous image she built in her head. Haruno looks down at her phone and notices she accidentally took a picture during the commotion. She examines it closely and sees Mona's face. Mona's expression is different, something Haruno has never seen before. It's soft, genuine, and unguarded. Haruno stares at it in disbelief, realizing something she never expected. Now they are in the library. Medaka needs some books for today's homework, and while taking out a book, their hands accidentally touch. A new chance for love to bloom. Mona thinks that if they touch hands like this, there's no way he won't fall for her. She looks at him and says that of all the books here, they need the same one, and it must be fate. She asks if he wants to read it together, but with his usual demeanor, he passes the book to her and tells her she can keep it. She is annoyed because it's another loss, even though he can't stop blushing from the touch. She pouts, thinking she might be losing the battle, but the war isn't over, and she doesn't need to start sweating yet. Haruno watches her from behind the wall. Mona notices her and sees her quickly hide. She smiles, realizing Haruno is spying on her. Haruno rubs Mona's picture on her cheek, commenting that Mona looks adorable when she goes all out, and she's sure that Mona is in love with Medaka. Haruno decides that she will watch over them as Mona's guardian. Back at the table, Mona leans toward Medaka and whispers in his ear, asking if she should turn the page. All the guys in the library are jealous of him. He informs her that he's already done with it, and she asks if he's sure. Mona notices Haruno watching them and wonders if she wants something. She realizes she has never really talked to Haruno before, and yesterday was the first time she did. Suddenly, she gets an idea and wonders if Haruno has feelings for Medaka and wants to make a move on him. She thinks it's a possibility and wonders if this is Haruno's way of getting between them. She tenses up and starts asking herself questions, wondering if she is really in love with Medaka. She also questions if he is into girls like Haruno. Then she starts panicking, asking herself what would happen if they ended up dating each other. She becomes flustered, denying the possibility because her plans would fail, and she's supposed to be the only one trying to get him. Mona knows this is bad and decides that she needs to up her game. She can't give up until he falls for her. If Medaka is into girls like Haruno, then she will step up her efforts. She gets serious, changes her approach, and puts on glasses. She asks him what he thinks of her look. All the guys fall head over heels for her, showering her with compliments. Medaka is confused. She comments that glasses with tea are a perfect combo for books. She declares that she is now a bookworm. Medaka awkwardly comments that she looks good with glasses and blushes, questioning how she suddenly appeared in front of him. She also blushes and tells him to choose her because she'll make his heart race every single day. She uses her foot to nudge him, claiming that this is her next trick. Medaka is stunned and asks what she's trying to do. Slowly, he begins chanting to calm himself. She tells him to hurry up and fall for her already, declaring that there's no way she will let anyone else take him away from her. In a seductive tone, she demands to know how he feels about her. Medaka's chanting grows louder, and he panics. Unable to take it anymore, he makes an excuse and quickly flees the scene. Mona is left stunned that it didn't work. She can't believe it and mutters that this plan also failed. She looks at Haruno, who seems happy. This only increases Mona's misunderstanding. Now she thinks Haruno is actually aiming for Medaka too. Haruno is excited and comments that she looked very cute with those glasses. Mona is pissed and wonders what she should do next. She feels like she's out of ideas. Mona reflects on Haruno Tsubomi, labeling her a snake who's targeting Medaka. While stalking her, Mona convinces herself that Haruno won't pose a significant problem. However, as teachers pass by and praise Haruno for tending to the plants, Mona takes notice. One of the teachers commented that she repeatedly told Haruno not to handle the task every morning, but she replied that she genuinely enjoyed taking care of the flowers. A male teacher also commends her dedication. Mona cynically thinks Haruno is merely trying to earn points with the teachers. Later in class, Mona observes Haruno wiping the blackboard and deduces that she likely spends most of her breaks either reading books or tidying up the classroom. Another girl approaches Haruno, apologizing for neglecting her own duty. Haruno brushes it off gracefully, saying it's no trouble. Mona continues to watch as Haruno aligns everyone's desks, her curiosity growing. The scene shifts to the changing room, where Mona begins to reconsider her opinion. Perhaps Haruno is genuinely a good person. However, as she struggles to find any flaws in Haruno, she starts to grow nervous, worrying that Medaka might actually prefer someone like her. Mona's gaze drifts to her own body, reminding herself of her beauty and confidence. But when she glances at Haruno, she's left speechless. Haruno, too, is exceptionally well endowed. Other girls in the changing room comment on her figure, encouraging her to be more confident. Haruno responds with humility, saying she already feels embarrassed even when surrounded by other girls. Mona is stunned. Haruno's modest personality is something she could never replicate. Feeling dejected, Mona stands by the window, contemplating how Haruno is seemingly superior in every way. Frustrated, she mutters that if Haruno truly is Medaka's type, then it's game over for her. Determined, she resolves to step up her efforts to win Medaka over before it's too late. Suddenly, the glasses boy approaches her, handing her the soundboard she had requested. Mona's mood brightens as she thanks him, exclaiming that she loves him. The boy blushes and chuckles, admitting that her words always make his day. At that moment, Mona has a realization. She's never tried using words like that with Medaka. Up until now, she's only relied on her looks to capture his attention. But her efforts have yielded no results. What if she tries a different approach? She asks the boy if he knows where Medaka is, and he provides her with the information she needs. On the rooftop, Medaka enjoys the cool breeze when a handkerchief drifts past him. He catches it effortlessly, only to see Mona appear with a smile, thanking him for retrieving it. Her sudden presence catches him off guard. Mona, with confidence, declares that when a cute girl like her uses the word love, no man can resist her charm. She's determined to plant the idea in Medaka's mind. With a playful smile, she asks if he came up to the rooftop for his break, mentioning that it's also her favorite spot. Medaka responds with his usual reserved demeanor, and Mona seizes the opportunity to continue. She expresses her fondness for the handkerchief and playfully calls him reliable, warning him to be careful or he might make a girl fall for him. However, when she tries to incorporate the word love, she falters. Her confidence wavers and she becomes visibly flustered. She tries again to say it, but the word refuses to leave her lips. Medaka, confused, watches her struggle. Mona grows more embarrassed and frustrated, questioning why she suddenly can't utter the word love in front of him. Her face turns red, and she becomes so flustered that she pulls at her skirt in agitation, blurting out "loser." Medaka, flustered himself, stammers that he didn't see anything and tries to explain. Mona brushes him off, claiming it was nice talking to him before abruptly leaving. Medaka's left standing alone, staring after her, utterly baffled by the interaction. As she descends the staircase, her face still burning, she curses under her breath. A fleeting image of Haruno flashes through her mind, spurring her determination. She tells herself she needs to act quickly, before Haruno steals Medaka away. Mona is feeling like a total heartbreaker, annoyed that it's been a whole month since Medaka joined their school and he still hasn't fallen head over heels for her. She knows she's adorbs, so why isn't he noticing? With the cultural festival coming up, she tells herself to shift her focus there. But let's be real, she just can't stop daydreaming about Medaka. Worse, the same seems to apply to Medaka and even to Haruno. During class, Haruno picks up a slip of paper as the teacher announces the first culture festival committee member. Haruno. Mona is immediately irritated, thinking how Haruno seemingly came out of nowhere, is good at everything, and has a personality she doesn't particularly like. Then the teacher announces the second committee member, Mona herself. She is stunned, struggling to process what just happened. The teacher encourages the class to give them a round of applause, and Mona awkwardly tries to excuse herself, saying she might not be the best fit. Haruno interjects, cheerfully suggesting they do their best together. Mona agrees begrudgingly, but the atmosphere between them turns awkward. She can't figure out what Haruno's deal is. Could this be a love triangle? As Haruno starts enthusiastically sharing ideas for the festival, Mona, lost in thought, wonders why Haruno is smiling so much. Haruno then suggests conducting a survey the next day, but Mona's misunderstandings deepen. She grows increasingly irritated as her inner queen bee instincts set off alarms. Good girls like Haruno are her natural enemies. Haruno suddenly asks if Mona needs a pencil lead. Keeping her composure, she thanks her politely, though internally, her irritation simmers. Haruno, on the other hand, feels an odd excitement. They are working together, just the two of them. However, she suddenly remembers something and glances at her phone. Panic sets in as she realizes she forgot to change her phone wallpaper, which happens to be a picture of Mona. Fear grips her as she imagines what would happen if Mona discovered it. What if Mona thought she was a creep? What if she hated her forever? Mona calls Haruno's name, startling her. She turns, visibly flustered, and tries to brush off her panic, telling Mona not to look at her phone. Taken aback, Mona replies that she was only going to return the pencil leads. Haruno, still frazzled, blurts out something nonsensical, confusing Mona further. Suspicious now, Mona declares that if it's something she isn't supposed to see, then she absolutely has to see it. Haruno desperately tries to stop her, fearing the fallout. Mona's curiosity only intensifies. She stands abruptly, insisting she really wants to see what Haruno is hiding. Haruno, near tears, continues to block her, thinking she'll hate her for sure. Mona grows more determined, finally snapping and demanding Haruno show her already, adding, as long as it's not a picture of Medaka. In the struggle, Mona bumps into Haruno, and they both fall to the ground. Haruno's phone slips out of her hand. Mona snatches it up and is shocked to find pictures of herself. Haruno freezes, unable to hide the truth anymore. Tears stream down her face as she pleads for forgiveness. Mona, stunned, stares at her in disbelief. Haruno sobs, begging Mona not to leave her. Confused, Mona asks what she means. Haruno repeats, "Please don't leave me," her voice breaking. So Mona quickly assures her that she doesn't hate her. Haruno hesitates before confessing that she's actually one of Mona's fans. Ever since the first day of school, she found Mona incredibly cute and wanted to keep her close, even if only through pictures on her phone. Mona is stunned by the revelation, realizing that Haruno's gaze wasn't fixed on Medaka. It was secretly on her. Overwhelmed, she hugs Haruno tightly, asking why she never said anything. Haruno apologizes through her tears, but Mona tells her not to worry, reassuring her that they're just pictures. Haruno, still emotional, comments on how kind Mona is. She sighs in relief. All this time, she had been thinking Haruno was after Medaka. But then, a sudden realization hits her, and she freezes. Did she just let something slip? Haruno apologizes again, snapping Mona back to the moment. Trying to play it cool, Mona hesitantly asks Haruno about Medaka, clarifying that she was referring to the Medaka fish. Haruno looks puzzled but nods. However, her next words catch Mona off guard. She understands and asks if it's about Medaka. Mona's face flushes bright red. Flustered, she stammers that she meant the fish and shouldn't make it weird. Haruno seems to completely miss the point of Mona's correction, opting instead to shower her with gratitude and proclaim herself an even bigger fan. Mona, clearly flustered, finally snaps and demands that Haruno actually listen to her. The cultural festival preparations are in full swing, and Haruno has been unusually chatty with Mona lately. She casually mentions that her sister, a member of the theater club, offered to lend them costumes for the event. Mona smiles, remarking that it's a great idea and musing that her earlier concerns have faded. Leaning in closer, Haruno whispers with a hint of mischief, hoping the costumes will catch Medaka's eye. Mona blushes and stutters, reminding her they've already talked about this. Haruno just giggles and walks away. Mona pouts, feeling tense because Haruno has completely misunderstood and now thinks she has feelings for Medaka. She's convinced that Haruno believes she likes him, and that he's just not falling for her, which isn't the case. At least, that's what she tells herself. Later, Mona joins Haruno in a room full of costumes. She's amazed at how many there are. Haruno suggests they show the costumes to their class before taking a survey. While they look through the collection, Haruno brings up an urban legend about their school's cultural festival. Mona, curious, asks for more details. Haruno explains that there's a specific hallway on campus called the Bridge to Love, and that if two people walk across it holding hands, they'll stay together forever. She adds that every year, a new couple reportedly forms this way. Haruno laughs and comments that she doesn't have anyone she likes, but just the idea of it is exciting. Mona listens and nods, understanding what she means. When Haruno casually wishes Mona could cross the bridge with Medaka, she freezes and becomes flustered again. She tries to explain that Haruno has the wrong idea, but before she can, Haruno's sister arrives and pulls her away for a private chat. She apologizes to Mona, saying it might take a while. Left alone, Mona feels pressure building. Her pride as the class's queen bee is at stake. She's determined to clear up the misunderstanding with Haruno once and for all. To do that, she resolves to make Medaka fall for her at the festival. This time she's going all out. She starts trying on costumes. First she puts on a maid outfit, then a ghost costume, followed by a policewoman's uniform. None of them feel quite right. She even tries on a hot butler outfit, but quickly rejects it. Frustrated, she continues searching until she finds a bunny costume. She tries it on but is shocked when she sees herself in the mirror. It's way too revealing. Embarrassed, she decides it's over the line and starts to take it off. At that moment, Medaka enters the room. Their eyes meet, and both freeze in embarrassment. Medaka blushes and asks nervously, "What are you wearing?" Mona, flustered, explains quickly that she was just checking costumes for the festival. She can't believe this is happening. He crouches awkwardly, holding some documents, and says that the teacher asked him to drop these off, and he will just leave and get out of here. Before either can recover, they hear Haruno's voice approaching from outside the room. Mona panics. If Haruno walks in now, it will only make the misunderstanding worse. Thinking fast, she grabs Medaka's hand and pulls him with her. Medaka, confused, follows reluctantly. Haruno enters the room and looks around but doesn't see anyone. She notices a bunny headband on the floor and wonders where Mona went. Meanwhile, Mona and Medaka are hiding behind the racks of costumes, squeezed together in the cramped space. Their bodies are just inches apart, and both look visibly nervous. Mona's mind races, trying to figure out what to do next as the tension between them grows. Haruno looks around and notices some handouts lying on the floor, wondering why they're scattered there. Meanwhile, Mona is internally panicking. She had hidden with Medaka before even thinking it through, and now they're stuck in this awkward situation until Haruno leaves. Pressed close to Medaka, she is putting her full weight against his body and silently prays he doesn't hear how fast her heart is racing. Tears start to well up in her eyes as she thinks she can't keep giving him free samples like this. Both of them are visibly flustered. Medaka closes his eyes, chanting under his breath to calm himself, desperate for some breathing room. As he exhales, Mona twitches slightly, feeling his breath against her ear. She notices him mumbling something to himself, but can't quite make it out. Her face turns an even deeper shade of red, and she feels like she's on the verge of snapping. Before the situation can escalate further, Haruno's sister reappears, calling her away again. Her sister mentions Mona, but she replies that Mona stepped out for something. Once the coast is clear, Mona and Medaka awkwardly crawl out of their cramped hiding spot. Mona nervously informs him that she's gone now, and finally exhales in relief. It had been a close call, in more ways than one. However, guilt starts to settle in. She dragged Medaka into this, and now she realizes the compromising position she just put them in. Suddenly, a horrifying thought hits her. She had essentially given him a front row seat to something she never intended to. Trapped in such close quarters, pressed against her, she thinks there's no way he wasn't affected. But when she turns to look at him, he's as composed as ever. His usual demeanor throws her off completely. Feeling unsettled, she glances at herself in the mirror. Her face twists in discomfort as she mutters, "No wonder, dressed like this, she doesn't even look remotely cute." Medaka hears her comment and instinctively looks her way. Mona freezes, realizing she has said that out loud. Flustered, she forces a smile and quickly brushes it off, claiming she was just mumbling to herself and telling him not to worry about it. However, her reddened cheeks betray her. He notices her embarrassment but doesn't say anything at first. Gathering his courage, he hesitates before blurting out that she is cute. Mona is completely taken aback, her mind blanking for a moment. Medaka, now just as embarrassed, quickly turns away. In an attempt to clarify, he explains that the outfit is just a little too revealing. Without waiting for her reaction, he hurriedly leaves the room, clearly flustered. Mona stands frozen in place, speechless. Her face feels like it's on fire as her blush deepens. She can't believe what just happened and keeps reminding herself that she is not supposed to get flustered over something like this. Meanwhile, Medaka is in turmoil. Chanting under his breath, he tries to calm his racing heart. He questions why he couldn't stop himself from calling her cute and berates himself for losing control. He's not supposed to be getting involved with girls, let alone saying something like that. Confused and frustrated, he wonders what's wrong with him. The next day at school, Mona arrives looking livelier than usual. She has managed to calm herself down, and her mind keeps replaying Medaka's words from the previous day. She's convinced she hadn't imagined it. He really did call her cute. To her, this must mean he has finally started to fall for her. Feeling triumphant, she greets him with a bright smile. However, he responds with a scowl. Taken aback, Mona freezes for a moment before yelling at him, asking why did he do that. Her outburst draws attention from nearby classmates. One of them, observing her flustered expression, remarks that she even looks cute when she screams. Mona, now completely dumbfounded, stands there as her face turns red once again. The culture festival begins, and Mona's class opens their bunny-themed cafe. She stands at the entrance, welcoming everyone with a charming smile and inviting them inside. Her cuteness captivates the visitors, and Haruno enthusiastically snaps pictures of her while apologizing for taking so many. The other girls remark how Mona's presence has drawn a significant crowd, crediting her for the cafe's success. When it's time for a shift change, Mona finally gets a break. She knows this is her chance and approaches Kuroiwa-kun, asking if he wants to take a break together. He looks at her briefly and replies that he's fine. She forces a smile to hide her irritation. This is the same person who called her cute just the other day. Determined not to give up, she asks again, mentioning that he's been working nonstop and must be hungry. She invites him to lunch, but he casually replies that he has food here and takes a bite from a nearby plate. The bespectacled guy from their class scolds him, pointing out that the food was meant for a customer. Medaka quickly apologizes. Mona pouts, feeling frustrated. She had been so sure she could make him fall for her during this festival, but now he seems even more distant. He won't even look at her. Still, she convinces herself that he's just embarrassed after what happened last time. Determined, she presses him again, her resolve growing stronger. Meanwhile, Medaka seems equally unsettled. Suddenly, Haruno appears and places a pair of bunny ears on his head. He turns around, startled, as Haruno grins and reminds him that if he's not taking a break, he should wear the headband and go advertise the cafe with Mona. She declares this as her official order as a committee member. Medaka, confused and reluctant, can't believe what's happening. Haruno winks at Mona, wishing her luck, though Mona can only manage a dry smile. Haruno still thinks Mona has feelings for Medaka, and Mona silently acknowledges the misunderstanding. Medaka, resigned, convinces himself this is just another form of training and reluctantly follows Mona outside. As they walk, Mona looks around, asking where he might want to go. Medaka chants quietly under his breath, trying to purify his heart. Mona suddenly spots a haunted house attraction. A chill runs down her spine as she observes its ominous design, thinking they may have gone overboard with it. When she notices Medaka's interest in the haunted house, she can't believe it and asks if he wants to go inside. Medaka looks startled, attempting to brush off his curiosity, but Mona sees through him. Though she's terrified of haunted houses, she reassures herself it's just something a bunch of students made and can't be that scary. Summoning her courage, she suggests they go in. Inside, Mona immediately screams at the sight of a ghost mask. She panics, thinking the attraction is far too intense. Medaka, oblivious to her distress, comments on the scream and asks if she heard it too. She quickly denies it, claiming it must have been someone else. Medaka accepts her explanation, still engrossed in the haunted house's design. Scared, Mona tells him to move slowly because it's too dark, but Medaka, amazed by the details, marvels at how realistic it feels. He remarks on the decorations, the chilling temperature, and the overall atmosphere, commenting on how impressive it all is. Despite her fear, Mona finds herself smiling. His excitement makes her happy. As they move through the attraction, Mona's skirt gets caught on something. She struggles to free herself, but can't. She calls out to Medaka, asking him to wait, but he's too absorbed in his surroundings to hear her. Panicking, she yells louder, telling him not to leave her. She stretches out her arm, grabbing his shirt to stop him. He finally notices her and turns around, only to freeze in shock. He screams, pointing out her skirt. Mona, confused, tells him she's scared. When she realizes what he means, she screams as well. Medaka immediately promises he didn't see anything. Meanwhile, outside the haunted house, Haruno wonders aloud how things are progressing between Mona and Medaka. Just then, the bespectacled classmate informed her that the food she cooked has burned. Mona is worn out, commenting on how rough the day has been. She sighs, realizing it's not over yet. She reflects that letting Medaka make choices was a big mistake and decides she needs to regroup and find a way to get his heart racing. Her first plan involves the festival's famous crepes. While they eat, he notices something on her face and points it out. Mona casually asks if he can clean it for her, but he hesitates, unsure. Before he can act, a crow swoops and snatches Mona's crepe and flies away. Stunned, she stares after it while Medaka, oblivious, calmly enjoys his own crepe. Afterward, she takes him to a concert. She's excited but quickly becomes frustrated because she can't see over the tall crowd. Mistaking a stranger for Medaka, she tugs at his sleeve and asks if he can lift her up. The man turns to her, visibly startled, while Mona freezes, realizing her mistake. Embarrassed, she retreats, while Medaka, entirely unaware, continues enjoying the concert. Next, she takes him to a balloon animal stall. She playfully uses a balloon, joking that she's stolen a kiss. Medaka looks irritated and Mona giggles, thinking she's won. Deciding to draw a face on the balloon, she uses a marker, but it suddenly bursts in her face. Covered in scraps of rubber and marker ink, she grows gloomy. Nothing is going her way, and Medaka's heart doesn't seem to be racing at all. Medaka looks at her, confused by her sudden change in mood. Panicked, Mona flips through a festival magazine, desperately searching for ideas. Time is running out, with the festival ending in just an hour. As she skims the pages, she notices how many couples are around and suddenly remembers Haruno's story about the bridge to love. Her gaze nervously shifts to the bridge and the couples walking hand in hand across it. Before she can act, someone in the crowd recognizes her and comments on the boy with her, speculating they might be together. Mona freezes in disbelief as whispers spread, fueling the same misunderstanding Haruno had. Medaka, unfazed, suggests they head back. Mona struggles with indecision but suddenly has an idea. She tells Medaka they should use the area to advertise their cafe, reasoning that the couples might visit afterward. Without waiting for his response, she begins her campaign. Her charm draws attention, and the misunderstandings about their relationship slowly dissipate. Breathing a sigh of relief, she realizes the crisis is over. Then it dawns on her. This is her chance. She gets Medaka's attention and explains the bridge's legend, calling it the Bridge to Love. Medaka looks stunned but unimpressed. Mona continues, saying that if two people walk across the bridge holding hands, they'll be together forever. Medaka listens but doesn't seem to care, which frustrates her. Determined, she brushes his hand lightly, feigning it was accidental. He feels her touch and immediately grows flustered. Mona smiles playfully, apologizing for bumping into him and teasingly asking if his heart skipped a beat. Medaka turns red, hiding his face, and abruptly says he's heading back. For him, it was a close call. Not willing to give up, Mona fakes a fall, collapsing to the ground. Medaka stops and turns around to check on her. She seizes the opportunity, apologizing innocently and extending her hand, asking for help to get back up. A mischievous smile appears on her face as she thinks, no one can resist her in a situation like this. This is her ultimate move. Medaka hesitates, clearly flustered, but eventually reaches for her. Mona is ready to celebrate her victory. But to her shock, he doesn't take her hand. Instead, he quickly grabs her by the shoulders and lifts her to her feet. Medaka, avoiding eye contact, simply reminds her they're heading back. Mona freezes, her face turning bright red, realizing how intimate it felt. Embarrassed, she reflects to know why he had to lift her like that. Speechless, she follows him, feeling both defeated and oddly exhilarated. With an hour left until the festival ends, Mona refuses to quit. Medaka couldn't have gone far, she tells herself. Spotting him nearby, she calls out. When he turns, she pleads not to leave her. It's too soon to go back. He hesitates, visibly uneasy. Suddenly, two classmates approach them, asking for their help. They explain that a last-minute surge of customers has left them overwhelmed. Mona tries to explain her situation, but they plead desperately, leaving her with no choice but to agree. As the festival announcement signals its end, Mona feels a wave of disappointment wash over her. Cleaning begins, and she finds herself stuck with her growing frustration. She can't believe how badly things have gone. Watching Medaka, who is diligently cleaning, she curses under her breath. Feeling defeated, she decides she'll cry herself to sleep later and call it a day. Haruno notices Mona's disheartened demeanor and suspects her plans didn't go well. Thinking quickly, Haruno asks both Medaka and Mona to help move some tables back to storage. Medaka looks visibly annoyed. Mona questions why they're the ones being asked. Haruno waves off their complaints, asserting her authority as a committee member. Carrying the table, Medaka warns Mona to watch her step. She explains that the sunlight is in her eyes, making it hard to see, and asks him to lead the way while she focuses on her footing. Her tone lacks its usual energy, and Medaka notices her deflated mood, but says nothing, figuring they'll manage. The silence between them feels awkward. Mona eventually breaks it, asking if he enjoyed the day. Her voice carries a hint of hope as she waits for a reply. However, she quickly catches herself, questioning why she's even asking. She admits that the day was far from fun for her and reflects on how badly her plans fell apart. Still, she reasons that things didn't end as disastrously as they could have. As she speaks, she accidentally bumps into a stack of boxes. A box at the top wobbles and begins to fall. Medaka reacts instantly, grabbing her hand and pulling her to safety. The suddenness of the action leaves her stunned. Feeling his hand in hers, her heart skips a beat and her thoughts race. She suddenly remembers Haruno mentioning an urban legend, the bridge to love. Looking around, she realizes where they are and freezes. Their eyes meet and both their faces turn a deep shade of red. Medaka quickly releases her hand, stands up, and stumbles over an explanation, saying he was just helping her and reminding her that the festival is over. Mona hurriedly agrees. Internally, she scolds herself for blushing. The annoyance grows, and she calls herself an idiot. Medaka, still flustered, suddenly admits he had fun, adding that he's never experienced anything like this before. Mona stares at him, momentarily speechless. Her face flushes even more as she instinctively covers her mouth, muttering that he's infuriating.
Here I am.